To talk to the Tories this morning. Shadow Home Office Minister Katie Lam is here with me. Very good morning to you. Thanks
Good morning.
for coming in.
My pleasure.
First of all, I want to get your reaction to the PM's announcement yesterday of plans to send failed asylum seekers to return hubs out of the country. Do you welcome the government talking tough on returning failed asylum seekers?
Well, I think he said that he's looking at it. There isn't yet a plan. He hasn't found a country that will work with him to do what he's talking about. I very much welcome the government, I think, understanding that they need to secure the border. But unfortunately, at the moment, what we're seeing is just theatre. There is no concrete suggestion. There is no concrete plan. Well,
yeah, they say they're talking to a number of countries at the moment. But do you agree with the principle of a return hub?
The problem with return hubs is, so if you think about the Rwanda scheme that the last government was proposing and trying to enact, the way that was designed was it said, if you come here illegally, you will go to Rwanda. You'll go home if it's safe to go home, and we can identify where your home is. If that isn't the case, then you'll go to Rwanda. It seems like what the Prime Minister is suggesting is that people can come here illegally or otherwise, claim asylum, go through the asylum process, lodge every appeal that they can, lodge a fresh asylum claim if they want to. All of that takes years. And only if all of that fails, and during all of that time they'll be kept in hotels and housing paid for by the taxpayer, only if all of that fails will they then be sent to, it sounds like an Eastern European country.
But
I don't think that's good enough.
That only people that have no right to be here should be sent out of the country?
Well, I would argue that anybody who comes here illegally has no right to stay. That's what the legislation that the Conservatives passed said. Unfortunately, the government have reneged on that.
Well, yes, they didn't back the Rwanda plan, didn't they? Do you think, though, that this plan for return hubs could run into the same kind of legal difficulties that the Rwanda plan did?
Very possibly. I think there are, because they're suggesting doing it at the end of all of the asylum process, the legal structures will be different, but it will also make it much worse and much weaker. And it won't be a real disincentive. It's not going to stop this terrible problem that we have of people pouring over the channel.
And yet, the Rwanda plan, you would say that that would have been a disincentive for people to come. However, it involved, as you say, deporting everyone regardless of whether they had an asylum case, and it cost around £700 million, and the Tories failed to get anyone to Rwanda.
So it never really started because, as you say, it ran into legal difficulties that the last government was still in the process of solving. The challenge is, if somebody comes here illegally, they have to leave the country, otherwise there is no deterrent. People will just keep coming across the channel, which is exactly what we see. If people come here illegally and they can claim asylum, which is still what the Prime Minister is suggesting under these returns hub suggestions, they will keep coming. The only way to stop people coming over the channel, to stop needing to put them up in hotels, needing to buy housing for these asylum seekers to live in who've arrived here illegally, is to remove them on arrival.
And Labour would say, we don't want to hear any lessons from the Conservatives who oversaw record legal migration when in government. And they would say that it's the Tories that left the asylum system in chaos. They talk about how the Tory record was that removal of those with no right to be here fell by 30% under the Tories. Labour says it's increased returns by 20% now.
Well, it hasn't increased returns at all from people who are arriving legally across the channel. So there are various different groups of people that are targeted by immigration enforcement. But the fundamental point, I'm afraid, is true. Successive governments really over the last 30 years have promised to cut migration and have done the opposite, and that's totally wrong.
Let's move on to the issue of assisted dying. This bill is going back to the Commons today to be debated. At about 9:30 that debate starts. You voted against the bill, didn't you, first time round? Has anything happened in the intervening months where lots of different amendments have been discussed through the committees? Has anything there persuaded you to change your mind on this?
I think, if anything, the other way. So I voted against the first time round because I didn't think that the process and the procedure had been properly thought through. The suggestion previously, when it came to the Commons before, was that a High Court judge would oversee the process. The courts have essentially said there aren't enough judges to do that. And one of the changes that's been made in committee is it's now going to be a panel of people, one of whom is a psychiatrist, and the Royal College of Psychiatrists has said that that's unworkable as well. So I think, unfortunately, if anything, it's become I'm much less reassured than I was last time that it will be possible to do this safely.
Well, yes, and the proponents of the bill, those who support it, would say that this idea of a panel instead of a High Court judge actually gives better protection. You've got different people from different walks of life and expertise. looking at the cases.
But unfortunately, those people are saying we can't do this. And whilst that's the case, and also the bill has a clause that says that it comes into force within 4 years, whatever happens, however ready it is or not. I've actually put my name to an amendment that suggests taking that out. I think the stakes are incredibly high and it needs to be watertight, and unfortunately it's not.
Esther Ranson, as you know, has stage 4 lung cancer, really passionate campaigner on this subject. She's written a letter to MPs urging them to back this bill. One of the points she makes is that many opponents of the bill, she says, have undeclared religious beliefs that mean no precautions would satisfy them. What do you make of that argument?
I don't totally understand it. I mean, in my case, I don't have undeclared religious beliefs. I have declared religious beliefs. I'm a Christian myself. But I don't really think that it's about that. I think one of the dangers with something like this is that we think too much about individual cases, and that's not really what the law is for. That what the law and legislation is for is to balance all of the different challenges and pressures and public goods and public harms, and to come up with the outcome that we think is best for most people most of the time and best for the country. And whilst my heart goes out to Esther and to her family, when I was, a few years ago, one of my closest friends got a very aggressive form of brain cancer when she was 29, and I watched her die, and it was terrible. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to me. But we can't be over-informed by these individual cases, and of course the emotion that they prompt. We have to dispassionately decide what's best for the country.
Yeah, and everyone making that decision on very personal reasons of their own. And I know a lot of MPs are wrestling with this subject and taking it extremely seriously. Katie Lam, thanks very much indeed for your time this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you.